this is Ross Payton with Roleplaying Public Radio. This is RPPR episode 161, Eclipse Phase 2, character creation. By 2, I mean 2nd edition.
Woo!
2E.
Not 2.
2. No, it's just
Okay.
2.
We're doing this as well.
Yeah, so
Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
we have with us tonight, not as always, but always appreciated, of course, Tom,
Woo!
Aaron, hey Aaron, and Shaun.
Hello.
Yes. So the main game is not out yet, but hopefully by the time you, the listener, gets this, receives this episode, you will know that the rules preview has been released to backers of the Eclipse Phase 2 Kickstarter, which has all the text that you need to play the game. So we have that PDF. Because I've literally worked for the Eclipse Phase people, so I'm like,
we got connections.
I have connections.
We have connections.
Is this the royal we?
Yeah, the eternal we.
Okay, all right, thanks.
What the great RPPR gestalt?
Yes. So I asked for the rules, and one of the main things about 2nd edition was going to be making character creation a lot simpler, because that was obviously one of the biggest complaints of the 1st edition. So
Yeah, that was a goal.
Yeah, and I think we'll get into that in a second. Bit of news. Don't forget, there's another podcast that I do called The Mix 6. It's with Caleb and Spencer, and we review beers, discuss board games, pop culture, all kinds of fun stuff. We're coming up on our 400th beer on The Mix 6. We've been doing it for 2 years now. We started in December 2016, and it's November 2018, so that's almost 2 years, I believe.
That's a lot of beer.
It is a lot of beer. So whoop-a-doo-doo. So be sure to check that out. Back to not the Kickstarter, the Patreon for the Mix 6 for bonus episodes, all kinds of great content. I recently did an episode where I got to play Vaporwave for Caleb and Spencer. And
Did they actually survive?
They did. They were really angry because I actually, edited in the music. And I don't normally add sound effects to it because that's not my It's great. Also, they didn't know what a coelacanth was. I mean, that's another episode.
What? How can you not know?
Exactly. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
Somebody never read highlights as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Thank you, Shaun. I'm glad to get some support here about that. Caleb and Spencer were just so... they were just
uninformed.
They were so uninformed and just so resistant. Be like, yeah, no, they couldn't. We didn't know what a coelacanth was, but that was a flaw in our education and
a noble creature.
And I've rectified it. But are they grateful? No.
Hey, it is a noble creature.
Yeah, and of course they're not going to listen to this, so I can shit talk them all the way. No, you should listen to the Mix 6 podcast. It's a great podcast.
But also know that they don't.
You realize that we see each other on a weekly basis, so they'll find out one way or the other.
Oh, so you're gonna sell me out? Is that it, Aaron?
No, I'm just saying.
Snitches get stitches, Aaron.
In what context?
You know.
All right.
You know.
So, anyways, I have a lot of fun on the Mix 6, and you should take a listen to it. But yeah, Eclipse Phase 2, the rules are out. We have the PDF, and we wanted to go over character creation. We're going to kind of take a look at it. And so, Aaron, Tom, and I are veterans of the 1st edition, but Shaun here is new to it.
I played like a pre-gen in that one rehash you did, and then we also did Acrimony.
Yeah, the preview 2nd edition game.
So it's all been like pre-gens and quick slap together things.
Yeah, so... I figured if we made characters, we could get a good look at the system and see how it works and see what we thought about it. And so we spent around some time looking over the PDF, and we all made characters together. And so let's just go first around the table and sort of briefly introduce who you made, and not getting into any specifics because we'll go over each of the 10 steps. There's a 10-step process now. So first, Tom, introduce your character.
I think I came up with made the character Tolliver.
Tolliver, okay.
He is a infiltrator, not assassin. He sneaks in and is a hacker. He's kind of a data thief.
Okay, all right.
Data thief and regular thief, but he's doesn't believe he actually has no fighting skills.
Mm-hmm.
And he's all about getting, like, if he's seen and has to fight, something went wrong.
Yeah. All right.
And also he wasn't born in Uplift, but he found that he's in a neo-octomorph.
Okay.
Because he's find that's actually really facilitates sneak infiltration.
Sure. Did you take that trait that lets you sleeve into things more easily?
I did.
Yeah. All right.
So yeah,
that tracks.
Yeah, it's so yeah, he's actually he's a infiltrator, a freelance infiltrator.
Oh well, let's before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's go around. Aaron.
As per tradition, going back all the way back to No Evil, Cyrock is our mascot for this, so there was no reason not to bring it back in there. Of course, his background is InfoLife as an artificial generalized intelligence. InfoLife went ahead and went the techie route part of the career. So, but we're putting a more of a general focus on actual engineering and crafting this time around. So when we get into the skills, I'll discuss that a little bit further. But I did like the fact that they've boxed it up, so I was able to put in a fighter interest and actually give myself some fairly decent combat skills, since the general basis of this group that we're looking at is actually an Eraser squad.
Yeah, so one of the things the book does first is say you should do character creation as a group, in order to sort of everybody figure out what kind of roles everyone can play.
I kind of think that's very important for any game, but
yeah, because it's a collaborative effort, and doing it in a vacuum kind of leads to some incongruities, some friction when there doesn't necessarily need to be that friction. So we decided a Firewall Erasure Squad would be the easiest kind of default group to work with,
and worked very well.
So Shaun, you're new to the game. What kind of person did you want to make?
Just kind of looking at what they were sort of like rocking with a little bit. I was okay for the background ahead of time. I felt the underclass just seemed like an interesting thing to play with.
Sure.
And then I was bouncing between a few ideas, but I settled on an enforcer, a former underworld enforcer. And then for interest, I went with a forensic specialist. He's somebody that used to make people disappear.
Yeah.
Or he was a cover-up artist for triads or whatever. So the idea would be that's who he was.
A cleaner.
Like, he calls himself an anti-detective. For like, so if he had a nickname, make some kind of play on Sam Spade, maybe. I don't know. Faction, obviously, he's a criminal.
Well,
sorry. Do we have to worry about that, or just
just give us a brief introduction. We'll get into the nitty gritty in a little bit.
So basically, he can be a good upfront fighter, but he's also pretty good with forensics.
Yeah, we didn't even really make a full on Erasure Squad. We made just kind of a standard firewall team because we have a more variety of skills. Because I made Bartleby 2.0. And obviously Lost Generation, and so I got to look at the Psy stuff, which I will get into in a bit. Really interesting stuff there. And Bartleby is Bartleby. But the biggest, so we should talk a little bit about like our overall impressions of it. And I feel like my biggest impression is one, obviously it's a lot cleaned up, it's a lot faster and easier to do. Yeah,
way faster.
But you also make a much more focused character than you could with first edition, which is both good and I mean there's a little bad in the sense that you make a really focused character, so you're really you really do have to make it's harder to make, like you can't get everything that you want easily. So like I made Bartleby's major skills are like the psi stuff and then psychosurgery. And so like those were, I remember but he also had a fair amount of combat skills, but in this new edition, it's really hard to get all three things.
Yeah.
So like you really have to choose whether you want to be competent in one or two fields or sort of generalized in like 3 or 4 areas. Because I mean, in Eclipse Phase, you have like engineering stuff, fixing, building things, scientists, researching, analyzing, learning things, understanding things, investigators, picking up clues and interpreting them. Frontline fighter, me smash a guy. There's the Psi, and then there's drone operators, and there's just pure InfoLife hackers. There's a lot of different roles you can sort of fill in, but it's hard. You really need to think of it like you're really tailored on one kind of character, because they've also cut down on the number of skills that you have.
Yeah, that's something else I really noticed compared to the previous versions of this. That like when you're going into your general boxes for what you would like to have as a background, like with the techie, you would immediately went into InfoSec interface program, where I remember in the last version of that, they would give you your baseline for the background and then just kind of allow you to vary it up as you needed to, or as you wanted to for specific customizations, which in one way, like I said, for this and new players like Shaun, this is probably a great thing for the fact that they can actually get everything that they needed and avoid some of the pitfalls like I fell into that first time around, which is I had a couple skills that were really low for my hacker type. Like I think the first time around when we did it, I had 30 or so infosec at the moment at that time. So that is nicer too. But at the same time, you're right. There are other skill sets that might make it more unique, but aren't as applicable, or you can't be as masterful as you wanted it to be.
Because for example, one of the biggest things I noticed was that in first edition you had multiple weapon skills, kinetic weapons, beam weapons, spray weapons,
and all those are just under.
Yeah, now it's just all guns. It's one skill for guns.
So they decrunched it.
Yeah, they decrunched it. There's just one sidebar that lists all the relevant major skills. This is obviously getting rid of, and they also they had in the first edition several skills that were like something, and then you fill in the blank. And now that's all just knowledge. No, craft beers, or no mind hacks, or knowledge of this or knowledge of that. So they really consolidated things. But you don't have as nearly many free skill points to play around. In fact, you technically don't have any. The major thing now is you have 20 points of customization points.
Oh shit, was it 20 or 10?
20.
Yeah.
Note that later.
Oh, my character got a lot better all of a sudden.
Yeah, hey, do this.
But that only, if you spent all of those for skill points, that would only give you 100 skill points because it's 5-1. And 100 skill points is you'd have to spend quite a few points to get, you can cap at 80 points. So you're not going to be able, if you want to have unusual skills, if you want to be a scientist, but who's also really good at guns, you have to spend a lot. And then to be good in combat, you kind of not only have to have a weapon skill, you also have to have fray. And so, but when we get into combat, there are not combat character creation. There are 10 steps. So let's see here. And we start with background. Why don't we go around and talk a little bit about the background you chose?
Okay.
So Tom?
I chose freelancer. If you're
what does the book say about that? Or what do you remember?
Not too much, just more whatever I do, I work for whoever will hire me. And I figured that would work pretty well for a firewall agent. So yeah, it's kind of the mercenary that just takes jobs.
Okay. All right, that's pretty good. Aaron, what'd you check?
Went with the techie as per the norm. So, and their description on there is you make and fix things. You might be a roboticist.
Background or
background. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
That was going through. I was in a career. I went ahead.
Background. Step one.
Step one. So Infolight. So is the AGI digital consciousness. So being born of the system, and as obviously is not as a seed AI because those tend to destroy things. So
yeah, you can't be a playable seed AI in the game.
It might unbalance things a little bit.
Seed AIs are self-improving AIs, so that's the Skynet thing.
Those are the ones that became the Titans. So
some of them did, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them became Prometheans, Prometheans are just an urban legend. Shut up. Stop asking about Prometheans. Anyway,
words.
Yeah, that's how words.
I think I understood some of them.
Yeah.
What's Prometheus?
Yeah. So Shaun, what'd you pick?
I did underclass, just kind of I come from the streets, the low underbelly of some fucking space station. I don't know.
Or Mars.
Could be, yes. The seedy underbelly of Mars. Is it still red?
Yeah. They are terraforming it. It's not going great. But Mars is the biggest, is the most populated planet in the solar system. It's the only one with cities with tens of millions of people.
I come from the deep red.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So of course I chose the Lost. Bartleby is the Lost generation. So each of these backgrounds gives you about 6 skills, 6 or 7 skills.
Yeah.
With varying skill points in them. One thing that the game does now is since your skills cap at 80, and there are obviously overlapping and in several other steps you'll get skills. If you get deceive at 40, and then another thing will give you deceive at 60 as an example. For example, the Lost are good at lying. They're good at deceive. So that would put you at 100 points, but obviously your skills cap at 80. The game tells you take those 20 points and put them wherever you want. However, if it's a knowledge skill, you have to put it in another knowledge skill or no skill.
So the guns can go anywhere.
Well, my deceive, for example, my excess 20 points of deceive could go into guns.
Okay.
Yeah, or your X
'Cause
points of guns.
I have excess guns.
Yeah, then you could put that into Fray or into psychosurgery.
Phrase at 82.
Who doesn't want
Okay.
who doesn't want excess guns?
Yeah. So, well, it can't be at 82. It has to be at 80.
80 as well.
Yeah. All right. So, 82. I see.
80 as well. Sorry, my bad.
No worries. Then you the second. So this next step is career, which is like background, is that you get a package of skills. So Tom, what'd you pick?
Covert operative.
Yeah.
Obviously, because that's exactly what I came up with with my idea.
Yeah.
Which is it's basically it's spy. Not the James Bond spy, but the actual what a spy really does.
Yeah, kind of like a recon infiltrator kind of type person.
Yeah.
Not social engineering, but getting into places you're not supposed to be. Or did you get any social skills with that?
I have deceive. Yes.
Deceive. Okay. That's something.
A little bit of persuade, but mostly deceive.
Okay. So yeah, but no weapon stuff.
No. I actually this character I have fray at a little bit because I picked it up later. But no, other than that, I do not.
So
fight.
it's really easy to make a really specialized character.
Yeah, totally.
Which is actually really good because it's interesting because I remember in late game No Evil we were like I could do everything.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about that as much. So Aaron,
as I was saying before, when we were going back around, techie. So a lot of these I've noticed in this box, particularly go along with programming, infosec, and hardware options to be able to go through electronic. They list as just common fields of electronics, industrial, and robotics. If you're going on that end as well, and then 2 other knowledge skills that can be set within there. So I went ahead and went with nanofabrication since that could be really helpful later on in engineering, but they do give the option of general construction, habitat ops, computer sciences, and so on.
Yeah, cool. Shaun?
I went with Enforcer just to say, we needed somebody for kicking ass.
Yeah.
That's how my guns and fray got so high. But also, a lot of these gave me knowledges, and I just sort of specialized in criminal knowledge. So, while I'm doubling up triads, police operations, security operations, cartel politics. Yeah.
Yeah, I know in practical experience when running Eclipse Phase, the knowledge skills are often like clue things to give the players. Yeah, roll this. Yeah, here's how this is actually going to work.
Well, I kind of decided to play it up as different aspects of a streetwise sort of thing. So where we are. Oh, this is run by the triads instead. Oh, I know them.
Yeah.
Back in my days in the deep red. My name was to be feared.
Yeah, no. So, again, this is sort of a first impressions of the game. We haven't actually broken down and really done a close reading of everything. So I don't know if even the game has new mechanics for no skills and what things you can do with it or not. So
I'm intuiting that these things they don't really overlap though. It doesn't seem like it. They seem distinct enough to me that they can give you different angles, even though they kind of
Yeah, so there might be more to the no mechanics than we have figured out yet. But obviously in future episodes, we will, of course, be doing actual plays of this. But some of them are more comedic or sort of trivial. Like Tom, you got one that was kind of
I got 2 no skills in it, and one there was a big one. It had actual stuff that made sense. I took knowledge freelancers. I know
freelancers.
I know other freelancers. I know the community that's with them.
Sure.
One had another 3 that I guess these were a little more, personal. And I picked one they listed directly on the sheet, which is I have knowledge craft beers.
Ooh.
Yeah. So and honestly, I ended up getting it with everything at 50.
Ooh.
So apparently, if this octopus,
so your character drinks.
Yeah, my character drinks.
He's on the future Mix 6 podcast.
Yeah.
Our 40,000 beer from Mars.
Indeed.
According to the ancient records now.
Yeah. We give you this ancient Barsoomian ale.
This octomorph knows beer.
But can he drink a space whale under the table?
So step 3 is interest, and this is again the same sort of thing where you choose a thing and you get a bunch of skills from it.
Indeed.
I think in one of those steps that also helps determine what starting gear is. That step 2?
No, it's you just pick you essentially it's gear, which we'll get to that.
It's all skills.
Okay.
It's pick two gear packs.
Okay. So Tom, what interest did you pick?
I picked pilot.
Okay. I guess that just gave you pilot skills. Or
it gave me 2. I picked starship and aircraft.
Mm-hmm.
And I got ground from covert operative, so I can drive and fly.
Oh, I forgot to pick my background, which was, or say what my background was, which is mind hacker. So I have psychosurgery, which is taking someone's ego and editing it so you can like erase memories and stuff like that.
You see, that's called taking the mind.
Yeah. So that's fun. Aaron.
Since I went ahead and took an interest on fighter, given that we began out as the Erasure Squad, but I wanted to be able to balance out all my technical skills with the ability to at least handle myself in conflict. So the fighter one gave everybody, I believe, us a generalized ability of like 30s in fray, guns, and melee, as well as a knowledge skill at around 40 for spec ops, or around 40 for security ops.
Okay. Is that a knowledge skill?
That's a knowledge skill, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Because again, Eclipse Phase still is keeping that there's active skills and then there's knowledge skills, and active skills are the ones you actually do things in game, and knowledge skills just let you know stuff. Weirdly enough, so
and knowing is half the battle.
It is, but the other half is actually doing it. So.
That's it. Yeah, you actually have to actually do shit.
Yeah, you have to actually do shit. Sean.
Again, I went with the forensic specialist because looking at the enforcer part, I thought being able to, we're erasers, so that might also extend to cover-ups.
Mm-hmm.
And I got kind of like the idea for a while. Say he's kind of a cleaner or anti-detective. It gave him like forensics, medicine forensics, research, boosted perceive, and knowledge physiology, so we can figure out what mangled the person when we're hunting down whatever it is. I thought it was kind of a cool idea.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, I mean, like, the first edition of Eclipse Phase did have equipment that supported that. Like one of the items which I mentioned to you before we recorded was the DNA shave grenade, which would explode and fill it with like DNA from thousands of people or whatever. And so like you couldn't tell who was in the area and who hadn't been in the area because there's so much shave from that. So I chose async, which is their term for psychic. And obviously, so my psi skill is really high, maxed out, and better at deceiving people and perceiving things, weirdly enough. So I'm really good at lying. Like it's important because the whole thing about the Lost being, crazy people that are hunted down. So that's the whole thing. Let's see here. So step 4 is faction. Faction's pretty interesting because it's relatively minor in terms of impact on your character. It's more of a role-playing thing. At least that's how I'm perceiving it right now, because you choose your starting faction as and then you get a knowledge skill of 30 based on that faction, and then you choose a motivation related to that faction. Motivations are how you regain not just some of your pool points, because that's a big thing now in Eclipse Phase 2 is that there's not just moxie. There's flex and vigor and insight and all these, and moxie, that let you re-roll rolls. So you have a lot more opportunities to do that. So
I will say it's kind of surprising to me just that, especially with the general, I like that they give the general descriptors, but as storytelling wise, unless they do this later where I haven't read it in the rules yet, it didn't seem like there's as much a focus on the storytelling element of these. It's just like, this is what they are, this is what they do.
Well, these are short summaries. Yeah. I mean, we all, like the three of us know, because from No Evil, what all these factions.
Exactly, too. That's why I'm just kind of, at least initially surprised. But.
Yeah, I mean, for character creation, they're not going to get too much in the lore, because that's the rest of the book. So, Tom, what faction did you choose for your guy?
I chose Criminal.
Criminal?
Yeah. That just made sense.
Yeah. No, that does.
I went ahead and went with the Argonauts again. So they are, for Shaun, these are the guys who will stand up on the precipice of morph rights and being able to expand knowledge and tech up with that.
Okay.
John?
I did Criminal because I was looking at the character and where he came from, so...
Yeah.
The deep red.
You keep saying that.
It will be a thing.
All right, that's fair. So I chose the lunar because the Lost Generation comes from the moon. That's where that project was set up on. And so one thing I was sort of, it says, oh, you have a motivation sympathetic to that faction. I'm like, well, no, he very much hates the people in the moon because they persecuted him and don't like him, so
he doesn't care for them.
Yeah. So you can, it does give you some guidelines and saying you could be a new recruit. You could be, this is just, dissident. You could say your motivation is the opposite of those. So, I like that they provided that guidance. And then here's the interesting thing. Step 5 is where we so step 1 through 4 is a little similar to the stuff we saw in Transhuman, where they had that 1.5 edition character creation where they kind of had the life path thing.
Yeah.
This is kind of like a simplified version of that. Step 5 is the aptitude template. So instead of like saying you have this many points and spend them on your aptitudes, they all start at 10. They just give you these templates.
Which work just fine.
Yeah, the templates are, these are kind of like the pre-rolled D&D stat blocks, the balanced ones. So yeah, Tom, what'd you pick?
I picked Thrill Seeker.
Thrill Seeker. So what's that give you bonuses? Or like what?
Mainly it's reflexes and intelligence. That
Cognition.
Cognition, yeah. Essentially, it's mainly for you. Like you're all about doing crazy stunts, and that kind of seemed like something perfectly give me the stats I would need for infiltration.
Yeah. Aaron?
I went with the Inquirer one stats. The Inquisitor stat, I believe. No, it's an Inquirer. Never mind, I was reading that incorrectly. That was heavily focusing on cognition and intuition skills, and also as with Savvy and Will being the two higher ones on that. But I went. So I would like another couple Will right now because my characters just tend to go to insane in these games.
Yeah, that was one thing we all found out. Well, I mean, I maxed out my Bartleby's willpower because he was async, but everybody else was like, "Oh, Will's that's the dump stat," and they were like, "It's not a dump stat." Nope. He calls it scary.
It's scary.
Scary fun insurgents. Shaun?
I did the meta thing, looked at all my skills, and went, "What's the best benefit?" And that was Thrill Seeker because most of my skills were Ref and Cog.
Yeah.
So I'm like, the name doesn't fit right, but I'll work with it.
I don't know. Criminals are pretty thrill-seeking.
I would say that he's playing cat and mouse with the cops because anti-detectives from the deep red.
I mean,
don't
that's
play by the
definitely
rules.
thrill-seeking. That's not.
Yeah.
There are safer ways to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I chose Survivor because that was one of two that had max will, or the highest will that you could start at. The other one was Facilitator, which was more diplomatic. And obviously, Bartleby's not much of a diplomat. I mean, he is going to have to be the group face probably.
Probably, yeah.
So
Which is going to be a good decision.
I'll just lie to everybody.
So nothing changes.
I'm actually a pretty good liar myself too.
Yeah. So yeah, we could tag team lying.
I can provoke people pretty well.
Yeah. See, there we go. We don't need to persuade anybody to do anything.
I've got persuade at 35, but that's within shit. So
yeah. No, it's great. But and of course it does say you can give points back to gain additional customization points. So it does recommend that you spend your customization points to set if you want to spend any to adjust your aptitudes, to do it now, because then you can set all your skills once you have your aptitudes locked in. But you don't have to. But yeah, it's just your aptitudes do modify what your starting skills are at. So there is that, because it says your starting skills can't start above 80. So is that 80 including aptitudes or 80 before aptitudes?
Including
Okay.
that. Although there are different ego traits that will allow you to exceed that in the beginning of the game, but you have to pay for that with CP, obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, you have 20 points of CP, which doesn't go very far. You beat up because it's 1-to-1 for aptitude. So obviously, I'm going to be spending at least 5 to raise my will to at least 25. And then as an async, I have to spend at least 2 for the side trait, and we'll get into that in a second. Did any of you adjust any of your aptitudes? Like, did you lower some to gain more CP, or did you raise some?
I kept him as it was.
I raised will to 20, so I would have that at least as a buffer.
So how many did you have to spend 5 or 10 for?
5 on that.
Okay.
I bumped Ref by 5. I spent a little bit on extra flex.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, flex. That's 2 for 1.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And then I spent. What was the other one that I spent? I spent 1 for another advantage, and then since I missed 10 apparently, it sounded like I should stuff that into will so I don't go fucking nutsoid, or what?
Yeah. It depends on the campaign, but if you're doing a standard firewall campaign, you're going to be fighting a lot of things that are real scary and will scare you.
Oh, that's a fractal.
Yep.
That's a fractal.
That was it. No, I spent 1 on bumping my fray up by 5.
Yeah.
Because that seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to get shot. That's bad.
Let's see. Then you figure out step 6 is figuring out your total skills, like where everything is. That's adding in your aptitudes based on your skill bonuses. And then if you get over 80, to take the excess and put it into other skills. keeping that active / no divide, and obviously you don't have to do that. So we didn't get too far in the nitty gritty because we didn't have the character sheets official.
Right.
We're doing this in scratch paper, but yeah, that's just work. And I'm sure someone's going to come up with an online generator or an Excel sheet. Or,
it'll happen. But actually,
a Google spreadsheet or something.
I don't know if it'd be necessary with this one.
I mean, at least to figure out, like, pick this, you're done. Like to do in 5 minutes instead of 30 minutes would be nice. So.
But it's still better than it was before.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because before it was more hours.
Yeah, before you had 1,000 CP points and you spent everything on.
Granted, there was a good character generator that actually came out for that outside of one of the spreadsheets, but that just reduced it down.
And
to
you
about
just spend like
300
on skills and another 200 on other knowledge skills.
Much
Yeah.
crunch.
Yeah,
I think
there was
Sean's about to pop.
Step 7 is really interesting. Your languages, every character just starts with 2, and then if your cog plus int are a certain level, you get bonus languages, and then you just know them. It's just a binary, you know them or not. And then it says if you're in a mesh active area, you can basically space Google Translate in real time.
Yeah.
That's got to be fun.
Yeah, so you only have to make it if you're in an isolated area.
Honestly, I think that even for the future, I think if you're at space Google translating, there should be a margin for error. Like everyone, you just roll that as a randomized effect.
Well, that's if you crit fail on a social check.
Exactly.
That person was actually speaking a language you don't speak, and Google Translate. Space Google.
And Google Translate just tells you fuck if
It's
I
Space
know.
Google, yeah.
Yeah.
Spoogle.
No, it's Googleplex.
Reputation, you have 100 points to put in between factions. That recommends doing a 60-40 split between 2 factions. I haven't really looked into the exact mechanics for that now, but so that seems pretty simple.
Pretty straightforward.
And then we get to Step 10. This is the one where we're going to probably spend most of the time on. I mean, or at least in terms of your creating characters, which is spending those 20 customization points or whatever you have left after you raise aptitudes. Let's just go around. Tom, what'd you spend your CP on?
Nearly almost all of them on skills.
Oh yeah.
I bumped a lot of skills up. And I gave myself the trait that lets me.
What is that called?
I think it's
More familiarity.
more familiarity.
Okay, cool.
And then mostly is I think I gave myself skills and a couple of traits. I forget.
You didn't write them down.
I forgot to write them down. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, if you can look at your phone and figure that out, we can get back to you. Aaron, what'd you spend your points on?
I primarily went with first up. The CP was going towards upgrading the will, and a couple other positive ego traits. I went ahead and gave a more familiarity with synth morphs, since I'll pretty much sit there.
So what is morph? So it's not for all morphs. You have to pick which.
Yeah, the one that I found, it says that you have to make a choice of which kind of category. Which
I chose biomorph, obviously.
Okay.
So although I wonder if it looks, since we have pods, obviously that might be
there's
another
biomorphs,
section.
podmorphs, and synthmorphs.
Yep,
so you have to choose which category.
Yeah, and it seems like this one you might be able to take multiple times, I guess, if you decide to do it.
Probably.
I didn't see any particular rule against it. I went ahead and took another one that you might be interested in, which is Resolve, and that's leveled. So I can actually take that. That's going to give me a +10 to any of my will rolls going in now.
Is that? I thought that was called Stalwart. Or is that?
I saw that as Resolve. I could be wrong.
If you look that up, if you can look that up, there is one called Stalwart. I think that was on Fear. So if you can look, maybe.
Yeah, here it is. Actually, positive ego traits.
Yeah,
if I was seeing that person. Resolve. Yes. So that's +5 per level to will checks. So.
Okay, so Stalwart gives you +10 against Fear checks.
Yeah, so that
was a more specialized thing. Okay.
Yeah, so this is just a generalized one as well. And I went ahead and put a couple ones. I went ahead and put Danger Sense in there because that's always a good one to have just in case. And on the absolute necessity that we'll actually need it, Common Sense, which will allow you to ask your GM for advice once per session. So
yeah.
Oh, by the way, I figured out where those other points went.
Yeah.
I gave myself more flex.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay. So, Shaun, what about you? Would you spend your?
I think I bumped my ref by 5. I bumped a skill by 5 just to make sure I'm not going to get shot. Bought more flex and then I've got that extra 10 points that I guess I can respec later.
Yeah.
Figure out what the fuck I'm doing.
All right. So you didn't spend much time looking at the positive traits or anything?
I glanced over briefly, but again, there were like certain stat things that made sort of sense, and I wasn't sure what the better choices were. But when I hit the 10 points that I thought I had for some reason, I just went, okay, I guess I'll just figure it out.
Yeah, I know. I did take one ego trait, which is I took 2 ego traits. One is Psi. I took Psi level
Obviously,
2,
yeah.
because that's required for my character concept. And then Dominant Strain, which means it's available only to asyncs, and it gives them a resistance bonus against other exurgent virus infections. Means
Well,
like
that's a good thing to take.
yeah. So it's basically like my strain of the Watts McCloud virus is like, no, you get the fuck out. This is my host. no, get it. So that's
My host gave me a VHS.
apparently in my brain.
In my
Videodrome. Yeah, and yeah, so yeah, size stuff is really cool. I spent obviously a lot of points on that. But yeah, like that's the thing with Bartleby, I couldn't give him the gun skills that was really in the previous concept. He's really good at hacking mines and sciing stuff, but he's not so good at shooting people. So like you have to make a more focused character. Because even with like 10 points, that would only give me, like 50 points to put in between 2 skills. So I would not be,
and also and how to organize your stack collection.
Yeah, exactly. So this is kind of a remake of Bartleby, not the Bartleby we know and love from No Evil and Duality.
Changes had to be made in the production.
Changes did have to be made. So like the thing is about size, they've greatly expanded the rules for it now, and it's a lot better. So they're really a lot more interesting to take now, because in the previous edition there were only a few size slights that were worth taking. There were a lot of really ones, but now there's a lot of really cool ones. And I've only skimmed this. I haven't like fully given deep readings. I haven't fully min-maxed.
Well, like what's one of the newer ones that you feel would be really worthwhile playing with?
Well, one is illusion. You can literally put illusions in people's heads. You can
That's kind of actually a callback to Neuromancer.
Yeah,
there was a character who directly did that. So.
Yeah. So also, they reworked the mechanics so that there's 2 categories. Level 1 side traits or side slides are passive, always on things that only benefit you. They're basically modifiers. So like you can get one, and they all cost 1 CP each. All side slides cost 1 CP each. So once you have that, you can get one that gives you plus 10 to all will checks for just 1 CP point.
That's nice.
And then you can get one that gives you this kind of bonus. There's one that gets enhanced creativity, plus 10 to all tasks that involve creativity. So there's one Grok, figure out alien artifacts just by looking at them and shit like that. So there's a lot of there's one high pain threshold. Ignore 1 wound for free because you just ignore pain.
Although I immediately see that one of like figuring out any alien artifact, like, really? Oh god, this is an exurgent. Make your will check. It just seems like that's going to be something that would complement each other all the time.
But yeah, so the level 2 traits, so those are the chi traits or traits. The gamma traits or the gamma slights, the level 2 ones are all active and you can use them on other people. But instead of like in first edition, they would say this trait has a range of touch. This one has close. This one has far. This one has stealth. All the ones are you actually can they can all be used up to like 10 meters away. But if you use them farther away, if you use them close, like you touch somebody, you gain a bonus to your psi check. And if you use them far away, you get a penalty. So it's just a range modifier now. So, which is really good because in the previous edition, psi stab was useless because you would hurt yourself doing it. And you had to touch somebody doing it. So you had to make a touch attack and then you have to make a psi check and then your nose would bleed.
So you could, because I remember that too, and you had the possibility of just generally failing and injuring yourself for no good reason.
So basically, you had to chase somebody down, say, let's wrestle so I can, mindfuckle you.
Yeah, basically. But now they've changed it. Well, the most interesting thing though is that they've changed it to where when you're infected, you actually have to choose a strain of the Watts-McLeod virus, and there are 5 strains of it, and each one gives you different personality traits and disorders. Like it fucks with your head, because the thing is, this is an alien virus that's basically infecting you and making you technically the same kind of thing that you're supposed to hunt down and destroy. So it's just kind of a passive one that's supposed to help, that people are like, well, I guess we shouldn't kill you because you seem mostly cool. You're kind of creepy, but you're not the alien flesh monster thing.
Relatively benign disease, I guess?
Are you going to cut my head off to dig out my stack? No? Okay.
Well, normal people do that too. It's Eclipse Phase, man.
Yeah,
but the 5 traits, or the 5 strains are, let's see here. The Architect, the Beast, the Haunter, the Stranger, and the Xenomorph. And each one gives you different personality traits. So like the, let's see here. The Architect is someone who's obsessed with building things and like understanding and learning new things. And so I chose that for Bartleby because he liked building simple spaces and stuff like that. Let's see here. You possess curiosity and a sense of intelligence. You see things from a perspective that is different. So let's see here. You choose either bipolar disorder, insomnia, or paramnesia, and then you get a free slide from each of these strains. The Beast. You're a ravenous, bloodthirsty monster yearning to break free, or your infection is. You struggle to keep a check, placated or distracted, else the desire for carnage and mayhem overwhelms you. So you're basically, it's venom as a, alien virus in your brain. So let's see here. The Haunter. And you have to choose between like ADHD, anxiety, or PTSD. The Haunter, low-level dread of incomprehensible terror, flittering at the edge of perception, is your constant companion. So you're basically a Lovecraftian narrator at this point.
Oh, lovely.
So that was my second choice for Bartleby, because I could see that going either way. Like one of your orders could be cosmic anxiety disorder. So yeah.
Does it force you to move in with your aunts and keep a cat with an unfortunate name?
Hey-o, topical. Well, not topical, but yeah, relevant. Then the fourth one is the Stranger. Your infection is the shadow at your side, the whispering chant, omnipresent but patient, waiting for the moment of vulnerability to steer you towards its inscrutable ends. Although its motivations are hazy, it seems to enjoy testing your limits and those of transhumanity at large. So this is the Dexter one, I guess.
Nice.
Or maybe it's, just doing weird, mysterious plot things.
Are you going to let that guy really take advantage of you? Come on.
Yeah. And then you have the Xenomorph. An alien presence lives in you. Sometimes you feel like a compulsion to burrow into sand, or eat dangerous substances, or clean phantom appendages that aren't part of your current anatomy.
Just eat mayonnaise.
Yeah.
Jars and jars of mayonnaise.
Some of them, it may be a specific type of creature, like an insect or an aquatic creature, or maybe it changes. So basically you have phantom, tentacle syndrome.
Oh God!
Yeah,
the
the
memories.
memories of things that never happened. So yeah, that's the one for you, Tom. If you ever choose to be an
Nice,
ASIC.
yeah.
And the way in fact, I haven't roleplayed or read the all the things for the infection test, because whenever you use your powers, you have to make a test to see how much worse your infection gets. But like whenever you take too much, you can they have different tables for each of your substrains and like how it manifests as a reaction. So like Architect, there's a restricted behavior, relaxation. There's no time to rest. You have too much to do. Motivation plus Horde, collect secret things. Motivation, create, make new things. That's fucking weird. Or let's see here. The Haunter. Motivation. Cut ties. Relationships are pointless at best. A detriment at worst. Or hallucinations. Just fucking trip balls for a day. Or sometime in the next day.
Like you do.
Or Xenomorph. Nonverbal communication. Control territory. Express true form. So go ahead and craft that flesh tentacle on you. Yeah.
That just sounds like you're going to grunт a lot and pee on something.
I mean, you could. That could be a valid way of role playing it.
But you're confused. But you're confused because your pee's not acidic.
Exactly. Yeah, that you get. Tom gets it. Weirdly enough.
Imagine that.
So
What's Terry been doing since the last week? He's literally trying to nanofab a hive.
yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Should we kill Terry?
No.
Should we restore him from backup? I feel like we should.
I think we're okay for the moment
but
unless the stay swaps come back.
I think he's making a nest.
Maybe just put him in the airlock to breathe out for a bit.
Yeah, basically, you guys get it. It's really like so the passive the level 1 slights are all passive bonuses, like gain bonuses to your insight pool or high pain threshold or instinct. Yeah, so but gamma instinct gives you reduced task action time by 25%. So let's see here. Side gamma slides there's a lot more now. So there are things like animal control, alter effect, block pain, block senses. So you could blind someone. They have one called basilisk stare, where you just like look at someone and like, don't move, and then they don't move. Then there's size dab, where like your brain, bye. Yeah, and then their brain, like you scanner them a little bit in the head.
I don't ever think you scanner anybody a little bit. It's either head explosion
It's
or
only
not.
as much damage as a pistol.
It could just be
With
basic hemorrhaging. I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Let's see here. You can mimic people's skills. You can harden people against insurgent infections. You can actually take someone's like, "Meh, meh, meh, meh." Now you have neural hardening. You've been hardened against that stuff. So good job.
That affects you no longer.
Yeah. So you can sense infection too, which is really fucking useful. Be like, oh yeah, that guy's totally infected with the virus.
As opposed to that one shot where it's like, we're not sure. We're just going to brain fuck you and throw you in like a little, sub robot or whatever.
Yeah.
But why? Because you saw a thing. God damn it.
Yep. Yeah. So you just have to trust a person who's already infected. When he says that, like, yeah, that person's infected.
That goes over well.
Your brain is quarantined.
Yeah.
Let's bring in this sin eater to be able to rectify the situation. No? Okay.
So Psi is really interesting. I'm never going to do more close reading of it and figure out what the optimal ones are and all that other shit. But like, there's a lot of cool options now, and like there are a lot opened up. So you can definitely do. The thing is, there's no outward. And depending on how you roll, out to read the rules closely. You might not even like visibly do anything. So you could just be reading, your space tablet, and then somebody's brain explodes in their skull. And you're like, "Doo, doo, 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 doo." Oh, your brain's leaking out of your nose. That's fine. So
Why do I have this sudden mental picture of that like kind of going off in like a spaceport or some shit random? I mean,
So yeah, because asyncs in the Eclipse Phase setting are not publicly known. In fact, very few factions know about them, and so yeah, it's
fun.
Yeah,
Nice.
they get that whole thing. Of course, they're more vulnerable to other infections unless you take dominant strain, which just kind of negates that to a degree. I have to reread the rules. And also, I think there's this whole thing about infection rating. So the more you use them, the more higher your infection rating gets, and that makes you more vulnerable. It creates more side effects. So yeah, interesting stuff to think about. So, but bring back then we get to choose our morphs and our gear. So Tom, what you chose?
I chose Octomorph.
Yeah.
And I picked the Firewall Agent gear pack and the Covert Operative gear pack.
Okay. So did anybody read the rules on like you basically get a budget of like 6 points for morphs, and then you just choose 2 gear packs and that's it?
You can also spend excess morph points on morph advantages.
Okay.
Which I did.
All right. Or you could buy additional morphs, which if you wanted to fork yourself, you could do that. So
Well, that costs extra.
well, yeah, but you could you could fork yourself into a case morph and have them go out and do things too. So, Aaron, what about you?
I went ahead on mine. I went ahead and got for morphs. Went ahead with Flexbots and
tell us about the Flexbots.
Yes, Flexbots are actually really cool since they're actually meant to integrate with each other if necessary, but also have different modules that you can switch in and out of too for this. So they can extend, they can reconvert their into different forms. And I actually do like the fact that we have a lot better visual on them in this than we had previous ones. But the one cool thing about this is, in the new version, is that they actually do designate specific modules for them. So, and So you have the baseline ones that will have your movement, your wear, and your traits, but then they have specific ones. My primary one I chose was a crafter module, which will allow for better vision, disassembly, fractal digits, all the fun stuff to be able to make things better. But at the same time, I went ahead and spent the other two, since we could switch out, for a rogue module, which is for more infiltration, and it also has one of my favorite options on there for the adjustments, Dazzler. So, but also the other one, which is a wizard module. So all these are 6 points, and we can have these off to the side so I can switch out as needed on there. But yeah, and the only thing I wanted to note that I found really interesting is that from the previous game, they've completely stripped out any of the other aptitude adjustments that you would normally get with the morphs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a huge thing. And so instead of you can now sleeve in the middle of games without having to recalculate all your skills, because all your aptitudes stay the same. What changes are your pools of insight, vigor,
Moxie,
and Moxie.
And the flex too as well. So
flex changes? I thought that stayed for your character.
Well, it says flex on 0 here, so I'm not.
Yeah.
You can actually get a bonus, like mine gave me a flex bonus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So some of them give you a flex bonus. All right.
Yeah, but I didn't see any other of the Moxie on there. But yeah, this is actually really cool with this time around, because that was one of the big, as much as I loved it, it's one of the biggest impediments when we were playing it first. Like, okay, we're in a new morph. We have to create up this huge new character sheet just to rearrange all of our information.
Yeah, because all the skills have changed by 5 points, and certain.
And that's a freaking lot.
Yeah.
So dumb question about the modular units, because I did eyeball that at first, but it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And it felt a little bit over my depth, or under my depth. Anyhow, I was looking at it, but so for a second it sounded like you may have implied, you probably didn't. Is it just like your modular, so you just redo your casings and whatnot? This thing, or can the modules act independently?
No, the modules cannot act independently. Basically, this one's just said that you can actually, you're far more multi-purpose than any of the other synth bots, because a lot of the other synth morphs that you'll find in here are very specialized, or they're generic. Like one of the ones, Steel Morphs, which was, they changed that one up a little bit too, because the original one I remember for Steel Morphs was supposed to be more humanoid looking, so you could pass as a biomorph if necessary, but especially since in the baseline of the game, synth that's like synthmorph and rights, or infomorph, info life rights are still a huge thing, especially since Titans are a big thing and we don't like AGIs if necessary. But yeah, this one was just more multi-purpose, that you can either do a lot more function things, get into smaller spaces without having to sacrifice that mobility for specialization.
The essence of the question was, so it's a module. You disconnect one bit, put a new bit on.
Well, no, this is literally switching out for a completely new one. So that's where the modules in this case are coming through. When I thought module was just like, think of the moment where you step back into a chamber, it takes off certain limbs, puts other limbs on that'll fit. No. Okay. In this one, it would literally be a whole new body, but this one is more specialized to something. So
okay.
Yeah, so now I'm thinking about it. I chose the Futura morph because that's what I usually would do with Bartleby, because back in the first edition, it was one of the only morphs that would give a bonus to will, and I needed all the will I could get because, psi stuff. But now that it's pool points, I actually it opens up a lot of options, because maybe it's not as necessary to have that. So yeah, that's something to think about.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What'd you choose, Shaun?
I was keeping it basic, so I had 6 points. I looked around. I looked over the different options.
Yeah.
Briefly looked at the Fury, but then it's like, oh, by the way, you're super aggressive and super cooperative. You're going to cooperate and be aggressive as fuck. And I'm like, no. So I saw the security pod and thought, the background's interesting. It's not a very popular model until recently. It was depopularized because apparently Titans use them frequently for security robots.
Yeah, during the fall in the fiction in the fall, there were tons of security pods, and they got infected and would massacre people.
So thinking about somebody who was working for the underworld and wouldn't give two flying fucks down in the deep red. It will be a thing, damn it.
I do not think it means
you've already made it
does.
a thing.
Yeah. So I figured it's an unpopular model. Who cares? And it's 5 points, and it looks like it's got some pretty good stat lines. So
yeah.
And then I had 1 point left over, and it turns out Resolve is also available as a morph advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I was eyeballing that, thinking that seems helpful. My will stat is complete shit.
No. Yeah, I didn't even bother to choose gear because again, I was just looking at that.
And the gear, yeah, firewall agent and investigation, because if that's the same equipment that helps you find things, will probably also allow you to sort of cover things up, not directly, but you know what I mean. Like if you're able to find where everything is, you know what to do to cover it.
Yeah.
Don't miss a spot. So,
yeah. Also, so the main thing one of the main things I've gotten from this is that, like in the previous edition, because you had like 1,000-point budget and you could customize it however you want, there's a lot of waste. Like it really rewarded people who had deep knowledge of the system to really fine tune things and really like min max and optimize the fuck out of things. And you can't really do that as much anymore because you just don't have as many, like you don't have that level of finesse and granular control over your character. So people who like, I don't know, someone who'd be like, well, I'm dual wielding two full auto pistols, and I have all these implants to give me like 4 actions and massive initiative modifiers, and I'm going to do called shot armor defeating to headshot all your monsters, Caleb. And I can mind hack. So yeah, so you can't really do that anymore. Characters I feel are actually going to be, are not going to be as, I don't know, versatile in a lot of ways. They're really focused. And
I don't know.
It's going to be easier to like overwhelm characters.
It might be my like instinct, but and again, I'm going off of instinct, not knowledge here. It seemed like a lot of things were relatively flexible as opposed to like the crunchy system it sounds like you guys initially talk about, but then it's like, I don't know. The knowledges seem like they can cut both ways. Certain skills are a lot more.
Well, another way is it was relatively cheap in the first edition to get a suit of armor and then put enough. You could get armor mods on things and get enough armor mods to basically make your character have like walk around with 20 or 30 points of armor. And
this does seem a lot more restricted in that case.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to make a guy with like dual wielding SMGs with like 32 points of armor.
But I know that's fun for some people. But if you're jumping into a game and, you're like, I picked some stats. I like the idea of this character. And you're sitting next to, I have studied the book for 5 years. I know every single little in and out of this. And my character can fuck you up across the galaxy. Like, what? What game are we playing?
No, I'm saying, So for a certain percentage of the player base, that's going to be a detriment. But I think it's overall. But like for me, coming from first to second edition, I realize I can't be quite as aggressive. I don't know. There's going to be like a period of where I'm going to be feeling things out because also characters have more points to like undo bad rolls and shit. Mm-hmm. So, but also characters just don't have as many tools available to them at any given time. Like you're not going to be able to buy like a huge, like I'm going to have a servant robot and he's going to have a sled of shit and he's going to just carry around like a nano fabricator, all these nano swarms. And I have a personal nano detector on me, a guardian swarm active at all times. I have 2 disassembler swarms that are pre-programmed to attack anyone, blah, 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 that I can use as free action. It's like third ed in terms of like ways you could make a fucking death machine. Let me tell you, but
it is true. It is true.
But ultimately, that comes up with a catch-22. That do you put more general? Make it more generalized so it's wider appeal that people can get into this easier or the story more easily?
Yeah.
Or do you allow the crunch to remain for those people who can utilize it effectively and make an interesting game, but it becomes more niche? I think.
Yeah. I don't get me wrong. I think this is a massive step in the right direction. I guess it's more of a warning to first ed players is like drop some of your simulations. You're not going to have like a page of implants and items and weapons, which is the previous edition. And you're not going to be able to easily make your fucking 3-4 action around death machine that ignores all wounds and can do armor. Yeah. Full autos all day long.
Yeah. So. That first ed one shot you ran us through. They're like, yo, I've got this. You'll need this. And I'm like, those are things on a sheet, man. Cool. Yeah. What, do they do stuff?
So that's something to keep in mind. So I feel like, it's... But on the other hand, also because it's easier to re-sleeve, like maybe it's okay to throw a bunch of shit at you and just like, well, you died for the third time.
Get the stack.
Yeah, well, or you come back from backup. Good thing you had those. Somebody survives, gets your stacks. All right, you pick a new morph.
Back in action.
I'm going to for saying this, but so would you say the simplicity, greater accessibility means it's easier to sleeve into this edition. Anyway.
Hey.
Oh god, special place in hell. All right.
Yep.
We forgive you.
You crit succeed.
I
on
don't.
That. Whoa.
Do I get a Fate of Moxawil?
No.
That's just Moxie. So, I'm really interested to play this out, to try this out in the field. The only like real detriment I feel is like I feel like this could make characters that are too similar to each other, because if you choose this interest, background, and career, that like you're basically the same as everybody else who chooses those three exact same combinations.
No, I agree that it feels just on initial viewing, it feels a little more homogenized than the previous one did. But honestly, it might just be once we actually get are able to fully finish out the character creation and then see them in play, that the differences might start to filter up again like they did before.
Yeah, and this is also something that can be fixed by just adding more careers and backgrounds and shit like
True.
that.
Well,
And which can be easily done.
Wouldn't the initial caveat that in the character creation really apply here in saying really talk to each other before you start slinging character concepts around it?
Yeah.
Feel out like, okay, I think I want to cover these fields, and then figure out how you want to build from there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's something to think about. So, we'll just see how it turns out in play. But yeah, it does seem like a solvable problem. I would like to have an option where you can just pick the exact skills that you want, and not have a bundle. If you really want to take the time, like if I'm doing a campaign, I may want to like have this exact spread of skills. So I don't know. Something about. Okay. But when we come back, we would have shout outs and anecdotes. Woo! And we're back after some probably synthwave or something high techy sounding.
Any future funk this time around?
No, not for Eclipse Phase. Come on.
I think there could be future funk in Eclipse Phase.
Morph wave. We're calling it morph wave.
That would be pretty cool. So we got shout outs. And our first shout out is a review copy. I did receive this for free. Dungeons and Dragons, Art and Arcana, Visual History, from 10 Speed Press. This is a beautiful, beautiful, very pretty book. Hardcover, full color text, visual history. It is a study of Dungeons and Dragons, the game, the brand, throughout the years, through art. Primarily looks through the different art styles from the beginning of the game all the way to 5th edition. There's a lot of different so if you wanted to get a sense of the visual style of D&D from the very beginning to now. This is a great book to look through. And of course, it's heavily illustrated, but that is not to say it doesn't have text. It has little interesting tidbits of history about like various editions. It also not only like the game itself, the scenarios itself, it also is like it has a lot of interesting stuff from the 70s and 80s section of like the merchandising that came with it, like the beach towel, some of the ads.
I see it. I turned to that right now.
Yeah.
So the actual dungeon level beach towel, in case you wanted to play outside in the park on a really nice day.
No, you want to be the most cool guy on the beach. Like everyone would just be like in awe of you.
You're just like, sup? I brought minis in my towel.
You just threw that guy. You just threw that guy with the GoBots towel off the beach.
Come on, Aaron. There would be.
I actually had a GoBots
I think
towel.
you're really.
I still have mine.
I really had one.
Sorry.
I still have mine.
There's a GoBot beach towel.
I still have it.
There was an everything beach towel.
Well, this is about art and arcana. All right, let's not get distracted. It's a great,
Although speaking of that, I do like that. On the same time, we also have the Dungeons and Dragons Shrinky Dinks collector set.
Them's was a big deal, man.
Yeah.
Why were they a big deal?
Because they shrink and they dink.
Yeah, I mean that's a pretty good thing. So it's a kind of book that you could read and actually get a lot of useful history and very interesting history about D&D. But it's also a book that you can just skim and look through and like, look, pretty pictures,
including artwork from the cartoon.
Yep,
the cartoon. It also has stuff like from Dark Sun, like the infamous or the famous Brahm art. All in the third ed, they even have a whole thing on fourth ed. Not very much though, because fourth ed, and then Yeah, they have some comics in the back of like showing the Tomb of Horror. So it's this is a great Christmas gift for your hardcore D&D player.
Yeah,
Like,
you can literally kill a person with this thing. So.
It even has,
that's not its primary attribute.
No, but
it has shiny bits on the cover.
It does have shiny bits.
It is.
Yeah. Why?
I'm trying to gingerly set it down.
Yeah, just put it down on the table.
I don't want to slap it down on the table. Jesus.
Give them an indication of how heavy it actually is.
It's the average Pathfinder book size.
There you go. See,
I would say a little bit more.
It's a little heavier paper stock. I'll give you that. It's glossy pages. So.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking book. I really like it. So I've not had time to read all of it yet, but what I have is very cool. So
All right.
Anyways, we have other shout outs. Shaun, you've been watching the show.
yes. Well, off and on, yes. So a while back, a show was made. I forget the actual Norwegian name for it, but they recorded it both in Norwegian and in English, and it's kind of piggybacking on the popularity of History Channel's Vikings, which it's comparable, but not. It's more of kind of a dark, dry comedy. It's called Norseman, at least for the English release, which is on Netflix currently, both seasons. I guess the way to put it is, if Vikings is yes, we're totally historically inaccurate, but still doing a, death metal album cover / side of a van kind of approach, badass. Norseman is more of like, supposed to be more indicative of the current attitude of people living in that area. It's sort of got a lot of anachronisms to it. It kind of goes, again, with that really great dry humor.
So would you say it's more along the lines of like the Black Adder variant of
Except
history?
Less squishy.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes any sense to you at all, but less of like
The characters are more rough and tumble.
Well, there's more of a meaningful silence in certain spots for humor as opposed to let's get a joke a minute. They play with the realism bits, but they still kind of make it more contemporary. Instead of getting the Roman, guy who's going to try to convert and he's scared by their wild ways. Instead, the Roman guy wins over the local chieftain and tries to start tries to bring them the arts. Mm-hmm. And so he's going to open up his own theater troupe, and he gets super prima donna about it. I mean, at one point, they also have like tiny little anachronistic jokes. Like at one point, I'm not going to give away too much because you just got to see it. One of the bad guys is like, I forget his actual name, it's Varg something. His sidekick at some point gets impatient, looks at his wrist, looks over. The main bad guy looks at him and goes, "What was that?" And he's like, "Sometimes when I'm nervous and waiting, I look at my wrist." Again, it's more of a dry sense of humor than like Blackadder. So I mean, if you're coming expecting like slapstick mile a minute stuff, you're not quite going to get that. It's just more of a quieter social commentary kind of thing. But
cool.
It's a lot more relatable and human than the than the full on historical Vikings thing. So
not as Game of Thronesy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are intrigues, but they're played more for laughs.
All right.
So
cool.
yeah, it's actually pretty
cool. So speaking of streaming shows, Ron, you got something?
Yeah. So I ended up beginning Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, since that started around Halloween, about that time, and then just finished it within the last week. Overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with what I saw with it. It is based on the updated comic series that came out. I think it was a couple of years ago, I think.
It's fine.
Yeah, so I'm aware of it. I didn't read of it too, but
just focus on the TV show.
Yes, I was bringing that in. So, but yes, this is actually taking the Riverdale aspect of that, which we're going to be
Riverdaled it.
Yeah, well, no, actually, quietly, because this is going off of the original side and of that comic, but just going in the side like, hey, what if we're doing this as the full witch and the whole Satan worshipping and black magic aspect of it? And I really ended up liking a majority of all the characters too, that they made the town feel like this is just sort of, this can be anywhere, any place in the town. So, or any time as necessary. All the characters are really well done. My two favorites in that ended up being the actresses who played the aunts. Cannot remember their names now, only just for the fact that one who plays Aunt Zelda, she is the one who played Eowyn in Lord of the Rings, and the one who played Aunt Hilda, she was in the blonde-haired woman in Shaun of the Dead, one of the friends who got eaten at the very end. So, but otherwise, no. I thought they did a really interesting job of kind of putting the dynamic of like, hey, do I go towards like it's like the stable but evil side of my family, or I guess it's like the freedom worshiping side of it, or stay with my friends. And they did a really good job of also integrating the friends' characters into it and not just kind of sidelining them, saying like, well, you're here to watch all my interesting things as well. One side of note, just because when I was a teenager, I ended up when middle school, I did end up watching some of the Sabrina show when I was on. Because my mom watched that, and Salem only talks a little bit in this one, and the cat cannot interact with the main actress because she is severely allergic. So, but otherwise, again, I liked it overall. And if you're mining it for like spooky general stories, it's a good for the most part. It only had a couple like slightly tone deaf issues every once in a while, but
okay. So I might as well mention a Netflix show. So Castlevania season 2 is out. It's super good. You should all watch it. It's the best video game adaptation ever of a video game into a narrative form. I mean, it's not a movie because it's over 4 hours because it's
but honestly, compared to that like the other movies, it was given room to breathe and to actually do something with itself, though.
You got that Warren Ellis story and dialogue, which is great, and great art, great fight scenes. They've already greenlit season 3. Also, the same studio has recently acquired the rights for Devil May Cry, and they're going to do a fucking crossover with that
crossover?
shit. Yeah.
I thought it was just their own series.
Nope. They're going to call it the Bootleg Universe. He's going to get all these things. And I am here for that. I am so here for that because Castlevania, remember, gets fucking bonkers.
I know,
more than someone.
God, we might have to do a drinking night on that one. So
it's going to be great, Aaron.
Well, no, it would be entertaining. I do, but
I just want that guy as soon as Devil May Cry to get out to get my actually next shout out, which is Bayonetta. Bayonetta 1 is out on Steam. It's been out for a while and it was on sale, so I got it.
It's on the Switch too. So.
Yeah, it's on the Switch. And it's a fun game if you like. It's a Devil May Cry kind of hyper stylized third person, brawler. Bayonetta is a witch with guns with infinite bullets, and the story is fucking ridiculous, but she's very stylish. And she's fighting hordes of angels that have really interesting character designs because they have like weird, creepy faces, and they're weird.
They're supposed to be closer to the actual descriptions of angels.
Yeah, and they explode, and she gets their halos used as currency to buy weapons from a demon in a bar. And her hair turns into giant demons to perform executions of the bosses.
I'd also like to point out too, since it's I know it's already knowledge, but most of the guns are literally in high heels on.
She does have 2 pistols on the back of her high heels on her ankles that she shoots with her kicks, and she also she has 4. It's interesting. It's a fun game. Tom,
and mine's also a Netflix show and also pretty well known. But not on a slightly different kind of genre. The Great British Bake Off.
Yeah,
which is one of those shows I didn't know I needed until I saw it.
Yeah,
and it's because it's just so nice. It's a competition. First of all, it's obviously it's a baking competition, but there's no money at stake.
Yeah,
the winner doesn't receive anything, just a cake pan. If it says like winner for this season for Great British Bake Off, and that's it.
Yeah,
but like the whole competition, even like the most acidic, criticism of their baking is all delivered just into like utterly kind-hearted, constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, because with all the shit going on and, on the airwaves and internet today, it's kind of a nice respite.
Yeah, on the Mix 6, Caleb, shout out to Mix 6, Caleb described it as visual ambient. Mm-hmm. Would you disagree with it? You would agree with that?
I would agree, but it definitely doesn't make you sleepy. It just relaxes you.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
But you want to keep watching more.
Addictive, in other words.
You do actually
like ambient,
and you do get involved. You can't help but get involved in who's going to win.
Yeah, cool. A lot of Netflix shows. So
thank you, Netflix.
Yep. Please don't become an evil thing that destroys the world, which I suspect all tech companies are doing at some point.
Netflix gains sentience. You will watch this.
Yeah, Titan Netflix. That could happen.
As we proceed into the streaming wars.
Yeah, when Disney, that's going to really pick up next year, Disney.
Oh God.
And DC's already done theirs. And,
that doesn't matter.
well, it only matters in the case that the next season of Young Justice is on that, and Young Justice is a good show.
It is a good show. That's not going to make a difference, though.
No.
I'm sorry, Aaron.
I kind of hope. Well, no, it's like that's why I'm sad it's on there. I thought it should have
That's
gone.
fair. That's fair.
Where we could.
Anecdotes. So I've been running Scum and Villainy, a Blades in the Dark engine game, and we all three people here are in that campaign.
Yep.
And we've been doing some shenanigans. We actually played a couple days ago, and so. To set up the anecdote, which I thought was going to be a minor thing, Aaron said he had a contact on a planet that could help him get some information on their job. And the contact was a junkyard owner. I mean, that's specifically what it said.
Yeah, that was actually what was given on the character sheet, because with the sheets that you're given for each particular character, you have a list on. And they're saying like you have either a good relationship or a bad relationship with this contact. So Slice, the junkyard owner, I have a good one, so I figured she would be able to at least give us a heads up on what we needed.
The NPC was named Slice, and basically, in order to get information from her, you rolled a 4 or 5, which is a complication. You get some information, but there's a complication. So off the top of my head, okay, goon. The basic thing in a game like this is goons with guns kick in the door, and so like I had slime people goons basically grab her after she gave some information. So you got some information from her, but she literally is being taken away by a gangster. So you were like, well. No.
Yeah, I'm not, and unfortunately, I'm not very combat efficient for this particular character. It's essentially it's what is called an Urbot, so it's a generational robot that.
Well, that doesn't matter so much as your.
But yeah, the intro. I wanted to follow there. So
you were a techie. Is that what your type is? Yeah. So
but I went ahead and used a drone that I have as part of my character to go ahead and follow and see what information I could get, and called back to the ship to see if I can get somebody to come through. So it could have been Jason.
Yeah, sorry.
So essentially, I'm the
Talker.
de facto face, which
Scoundrel,
is really terrifying. Because he's literally being played up like a space dandy Noel Fielding Dennis Rodman kind of mashup, and
you've got a great coat.
Always has different great coats.
Okay,
because
I'm
they're
sorry.
amazing.
All right,
and a poncho.
All right.
Anyhow, and I'm still pouting about a previous event. Let's just say things didn't go so well for my fashion. Anyhow, and I just turn around, go look at Tom's character, and go, "Muscle guy, go over there and kill things.
All right,
go help mechanic kill things."
So I grabbed my flamethrower and set off.
Yeah, and so when all caught up there, Tom, what did you see?
I saw 3 slime people
with guns
threatening this woman.
Yeah,
and obviously I am a combat monster.
Yeah,
literally.
Mm-hmm.
But I realized I brought my flamethrower, which is one of the specialized weapons on my sheet.
Mm-hmm.
But she's right in the middle of them.
Mm-hmm.
So unleashing that, I probably would have flambéed her as well.
Possible, yes.
So instead, I decided.
Aaron is disbelieving. I like that. Aaron's like, yeah, you would have been fine.
Well, no. It's like we could have figured out another solution to that.
I tried. That's exactly what I did.
There's more to this story.
Yes.
So instead, I like, hey, what are you doing with that hostage? Because like, can I get her away from them? No, shit. I can't hose them down with
that wasn't You also said you didn't want to hurt them.
I did, because it's also like it's just a thing I decided like, oh, I kind of like this species.
Yeah, you just decided you didn't want to hurt them.
So I start trying to negotiate. It's totally not my thing.
I actually let you go pretty far without having to roll, because it was just I was enjoying it.
I know. I think it was. I was just talking to them, and Aaron's over there, though he's not in the same area. He's watching, slowly losing his mind.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's get back to that.
Okay.
So you were trying to negotiate a deal, but during this, information was given from the slime people that if we basically would commit a crime, which is assisting in shaking down somebody else who
they basically said, this woman owes us money. We're taking her because we're gonna to help her pay off her debt by basically buying her or taking her junkyard from her. And that's what they were going to do. We're like, well, don't do that.
Because we need her right now.
We need her help for right now. So give us 24 hours with her to get her help. And then, and they said, well, if you want that, then you have to go collect one of our debts for us.
I'm like, all right, cool. I'll do that.
But then...
Okay, but yeah, looking at this and just seeing the general agreement, again, I know we're a smuggler group.
We're criminals.
We are toads.
Well, okay, no,
criminals.
we're just, it's like I'm going along the Mal Reynolds one of like we're thieves, but we're not like the bad of thieves.
Nope.
Where I looked at it and saw one of my friends like, wait, you're going to take away her primary livelihood. You are doing a job for scum who went ahead and kidnapped her in the first place, and I was sitting there going like, I'm objecting, I'm not being listened to. Well, let's rig the drone to shock them. So
and you tased them.
And I managed to get a critical success on that, so it took all three of them out in one sitting.
Yeah.
So during a lot of this exchange, during like certain pauses, Renee and I were making this like dumb joke of like she's meditating harder. And I'm just going, making toast, buttering toast, eating that toast. Damn, I love this toast. And then by the end of this, we realize something's really wrong, so we track them down, and I show up on the scene to see 3 tased slime puddles.
Yeah, they were puddles.
They were alive.
They were conscious. And so
Puddles with guns.
Yeah.
One terrified looking, I have no idea who the hell that is.
Yeah.
A giant lizard guy holding a flamethrower who I swear I told to go out and kill things, and nothing's on fire. And of course, our Urbot, minus most of the magnets. That'll make sense later. Standing there with the drone that's still probably like...
Yeah.
And I believe the pilot was there as well, Jason's character, and he's just like going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And we get a quick info dump. My character, Showstopper, sits there for a couple seconds, stares in disbelief, walks up, out of character, I apologize for what I'm about to do. Goes, okay, so this is what happened? Yeah, I don't want to hurt them. I once dated a slime person. Looks up at Tom's character.
I did say that.
Yeah. Slap him upside the head. Look over. Aaron says a thing about, no, but we have to save these people. We have to save
this person.
Yeah,
This person, my
it's a noble thing
friend.
to do. Slap upside the head, clang, ow! And then we had to deal with the fallout of all of that, which was interesting in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah, which is another thing. But yeah, so I just like that.
That's the gist of
This was just one. It wasn't even a failed roll. You got the information you needed. You got a name from her that you could have used to further your investigation of the job. But you're like, no, we must save this woman who is in debt to these criminals. And
okay, if you want to look at it that way,
No, I mean, I liked it.
I fell completely and utterly for the sympathy monster as per the norm.
No, it is great storytelling.
Yeah.
But remember, scum and villainy.
Again, and
Dude, I was totally ready to go shake someone down.
yeah.
And again, it's like you could go there, but I'm pretty sure at least Jason, Renee, and I are more on the Firefly side of.
I'm not
doing
going
that.
fully.
I think Renee washed her hands of it, and
Oh, yeah.
I don't think
Jason was hitting his head. Jason was hitting his head on the wall.
Yeah,
okay.
Jason. I don't think Jason. Yeah.
And
Don't bring anybody else in it.
And
This
laughing
is,
hysterically too.
yeah.
This is both of you.
Yeah.
But we
I just
resolved
like that one scene. Like you both played against type. Well, I mean, not you played against type. Yeah, the Aaron played to type. So you helped the person in need, and like it just
It
led to a more interesting story.
It would be
Fun was had by all.
unintended. It would be a great like clip for a show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna do these 3 unconscious slime people. You know.
What the fuck? Why are you doing any of this?
well, I was happy that I was able to introduce once we got to the boss and just say, I assume you're Mr. Horrible Gelatinous Blob.
But
yeah.
And my character it is now canon. He dated one.
Yep, apparently.
Okay.
So, anyways, so this is just a very, very sci-fi episode. If you see a slime person in Eclipse Phase, run because they are a horrifying monster.
Yeah, don't mess with them there.
Yeah, but so we'll have more Eclipse Phase material coming in the future.
I do
Oh,
have
yeah.
one thing to say though.
Yeah.
Deep red.
All right.
Okay, then.
Let's, be sure to check out. Don't forget to check out the RPPR Patreon, patreon.com/RPPR. We got bonus episodes and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah. Actually, if I might add one more thing.
Okay.
Okay. Since Shaun and I are here too, just a reminder: every Wednesday, usually almost every Wednesday, every week, we are doing Railery's podcast streaming on Twitch. This we've been continuing on through Spider-Man. We actually had a fairly interesting one. That video is still up there, so if you want to take a look there, and hopefully we'll be updating that to the YouTube channel soon. But again, come watch us, and that's like when we do this, or we get guests like Ross a couple of weeks ago.
We laugh at the Spooder Man.
We do.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next time.
All right,
Latest.